Welcome back to Westerospective, where we bring you Game of Thrones, the old seasons, and the new. I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron.
And tonight we are talking Baelor, Season 1, Episode 9, one of the big uns.
Yes.
So it's going to be in for a good show, I think. Unfortunately, Ron and I each got fucking zero sleep last night, so we sound really disinterested, but I promise you, it's a fantastic episode. So
we managed to stay awake through it, so
yeah,
yes.
That's our glowing review, and we're done for the day.
Yep.
And tune in next week, and then we'll be talking about episode 10. But yeah, we do this show basically as a retroactive review, knowing what we know now in the current seasons. So you are warned for basically everything that has ever happened in all 6 seasons of Game of Thrones, spoilers-wise. So keep that in mind. And let's go ahead and get started. Ron took more notes for this one than I did, so we're going to try to follow his progression more so than mine. So go ahead, sir.
We opened with Ned and Varys in the dungeon, if I recall. It's been a few days since I watched it. You just watched it, so it's actually more fresh in your brain. I'm watching
when you watched it, you hadn't watched it off like 4 hours of sleep, so it might actually be better.
That is true. That is true. But yeah, since my wife's getting into it, we're getting ahead of the podcast, so it's getting harder for me to remember shit.
Damn her have good taste in television.
I know. How could she? But yeah, every time I see Ned in the dungeon, I'm just sad.
You know what's really interesting, though, is it was one of those things, the Varys and Ned scenes were not ones that stuck out in my mind the first or second viewing of this first season.
They did in mine.
They're really, really great scenes.
They really are.
They really give you a lot more backstory to Varys' intentions than I originally remembered.
Not only that, it probably fleshes Varys out more than anything else you see so far, because usually it's his facade in front of everyone, but when he's in the dungeon with Ned, it's just Varys.
Yeah. He does at that point. He doesn't have to pretend, like he's just being himself. That's probably the last time you ever see him. It probably in some scenes where he's alone with Tyrion. That's probably the closest you get later on
to just real true Varys.
But yeah, I took down some quotes. I like how when Varys is kind of talking to Ned, telling him like, you may be willing to forfeit your own life, but it's not just your life on the line right now. I like how Ned's response to him is, you think my life is some precious thing to me. And then he tells him, I grew up with soldiers. I learned how to die a long time ago. He's kind of looking at the whole situation. It's like, he's being selfish in a good way because he's being honorable, but he is being selfish because he's not taking into account, like all the other, dominoes that can fall.
Arya is lost out there somewhere, as far as he knows at the moment. And Sansa is right in the middle of literally the lion's den.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're obviously going to get into more detail later on, but I think this is maybe this episode collectively, I think it might be the best Sean Bean performance of his career.
Oh yeah.
Like there's some he's had a really, really, great career, but when you just think of like some of the acting he gets across without speaking in the episode, I think it was just really phenomenal.
He's always been really good at that. He was good at that in Lord of the Rings, and he was pretty good at that as a villain in GoldenEye also.
Yeah.
He would say a lot. Like his body language and everything would say one thing, because he's the opposite of 007 in that movie. He's the villain version of 007 basically. Yeah. So he's got the charm and everything going on, but his body language would say like how frustrated the character is, even though he's acting it off and stuff. He's an amazing actor, and
it's so evident the last 10 minutes. You want to talk about body language?
I know.
The emotions that we're going to talk about that he gets across without having to say a word.
Yes.
Is mind-blowing. But yeah, what's next up?
I believe we then jump to Robb Stark trying to figure out how to confront Walder Frey. And like Theon is shooting down the messenger ravens and all that.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out a way to negotiate, but they know they can't send in Robb because he's too important. So, knowing what we know later on, some of the dialogue between the people in the Stark camp about Walder Frey is so disturbing. Like, the one line that I wrote down was when Kat decides to, we can't send Robb, I'll go talk to him.
Right.
And she says, I have known Lord Walder since I was a girl. He would never harm me.
Yeah.
You're just like, you guys have no fucking clue who you are dealing with right now.
I mean, in a way they do, but they don't know the lengths that he's willing to go. It's somewhat evident when you actually get in the scene with him, like how pissed off and frustrated that he is with all the other families. But
and you want to talk about like the two characters? They really do such a great job of establishing just how batshit they are. It is Robin and Liza and Walder Frey. Because when you walk into that scene and they introduce him, and he's just surrounded in a room with like fucking 50 people, and they're like all his kids.
Yeah.
And then like the interaction they have with his 15-year-old wife that's standing next to him, and she looks like a prisoner.
Yeah.
Even for Game of Thrones, like there is some dark subtext to the scene.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that scene, and none of it good.
Yeah, I'm looking up right now. I wanted to get the actors. David Bradley, the Walder Frey actor, man.
Yeah, isn't he the Harry Potter guy?
Yeah, he's the Harry Potter guy. He's the main reason you need to watch The Strain, because I've
always wanted to see that show.
He plays an 80-year-old fucking vampire hunter dude, and it's incredible.
Oh, dude, that sounds awesome already.
He's badass, dude. Yeah, but that scene, I don't think I had any more quotes for, but it is interesting going back in the older seasons, and when you know all of the Garden of Betrayal equivalent later on, like
you kids get out of my garden.
It's really tough to watch.
It is. And you know what's really funny is here they're like, oh no, we can't send Robb in, like he'll kill him and turn his body over to the Lannisters. What the fuck happens later, Jeff? Like, yeah.
Even one of them even talks about he'll slit your throat.
Yes.
God damn it.
Yeah, fuck you, George R.R. Martin, for toying with my emotions, so.
Yeah. And Benioff and Weiss.
Yes.
Yeah. Bastages. I think from there we go to the Night's Watch, right?
I was going to say, from there we jump to Jon Snow. And this is where we get Longclaw formally introduced.
Question.
Yes.
Did you remember that it was originally the bear and the pommel and he changed it? I did not remember that.
I did not remember that, and I felt so goddamn dumb because that's the symbol of the family.
Right?
Yeah.
Their fucking village thing is called Bear Island.
Yeah.
And it never clicked in my brain, like, why the fuck does he have a wolf sword? Like, I am such a dipshit.
Well,
when it comes to this show
when you're watching the show that calls back to something 5 years ago, ordinarily, you know.
Yeah.
Like, dude, who the fuck knew that Kevin Lannister was there in season 1?
Oh, good old Kevin. Yeah, I thought that scene, it has so much more importance now.
I actually forgot. We watched the finale tonight. I actually forgot how much I miss Lord Commander Mormont, dude.
He's the Mormonts, dude. They're all fucking incredible, man.
I know. This episode and the next one has so many good scenes with Mormont, dude.
It's like they're like the least represented family. They're my favorite family, like by far. They're all so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had completely forgotten he changed the pommel. I like how he has the quote where he's just like, long claw, it'll work for a wolf too, type of thing.
Yeah, I liked that. And then I like how he basically made it in order that he's taking the goddamn sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really cool scene. man, I wish they could have kept him around for longer because I really loved that character.
Yeah, 500 years, I think he said it was in the family, and it was meant for Jorah, but Jorah brought dishonor to the family, so he's basically adopting Jon as his son by giving him that, more or less. He's saying, I look at you as a son.
You think? What would be a really cool moment is in the last couple of seasons if he bequeaths it to Lyanna, so it goes back into the family. That would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah.
As like,
I always wondered what would happen if Jorah and Jon met and he saw Longclaw. He has to know that sword very well.
Yeah.
Even if the pommel's changed.
At that point, I don't think because is it Gior? I think that's the name of Commander Mormont. I believe it's Gior Mormont. He says Jorah had the decency to leave it here before he departed.
Yes.
So it looks like it wasn't, taken away from Jorah. He, gave it back to them.
Yeah.
When he was kind of banished. But yeah, it's interesting.
And this is getting off topic, but that's one thing I always like about Jorah. He's not as honor bound as some characters, but he is pretty honor bound.
Yeah, even the story behind him getting banished, it wasn't like he was being like, it was kind of fucked up what he did, but I could totally get his reasoning for it.
Yeah, but it wasn't kind of fucked up. It was slavery, so it was pretty fucked up.
They were also complete assholes who he was doing it to. So.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's like, because we had the scene a few episodes ago of the you swore an oath. I did, and yet here you stand, and yet here I stand. That's one of the reasons why I love Jorah, dude. All the Mormonts, I just want in that family somehow.
Hashtag Mormont 2016. Did you have anything else with that scene?
Nope. From there, we jump back to Robb, and Catelyn is back from her meeting with Walder Frey. I love this scene.
Oh, dude, the laundry list of demands.
It's not often that Game of Thrones gives you a straight-up comedic scene, but when they do, it's gold.
What? Yeah. Did you get a look at the daughters? That is such a human moment. Because, a guy would say that. It's so human. It was really well done.
And then she's like, yes. And he's like, and? And she's like, well, that was one.
It just trails off completely.
It just trails off.
I like how when Robb asked did you get a good look at the daughters line, Theon just starts cracking up next to him.
I also liked how she was hesitant to tell Robb that he was going to be marrying someone also. But she just kind of stood there for a moment, and he was just like, and?
I liked when she said that Arya had to get married in the family, and he was just like, she's not going to like that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What's funny too is that moment, it's probably one of the funniest moments of the season, the first couple of seasons, and it all leads to the goddamn Red Wedding.
Yes.
It's
once again, fuck you, George R.R. Martin, right? Benioff, and Weiss.
It's like they fucking knew what was gonna happen, Ron.
I know. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. I don't think I had. Did you have anything else?
No. I love any straight up comedy scene they give us, and I had mostly forgotten that one.
This is one of the most infamous episodes of the show for how dark the ending is. For the first 45 minutes, it's one of the funnier episodes, honestly.
Yeah, it really is.
The stuff we'll get to later on with Tyrion and Bronn is all really funny too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And there's something there later that I almost straight up text you about when we were watching it. But so we go from there back to Jon Snow, right? And Maester Targaryen.
This is one of the scenes I was really, really most looking forward to revisiting.
Yes.
After the
now that names mean something to us,
and
unlike our fourth viewing.
Again, the biggest of spoiler warnings, but now that we officially have the confirmation that they're relatives.
Yes.
Now, and neither of them know it, and it just adds a whole other, elephant in the room behind the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a lot different listening to them talking. Just knowing that Jon is a Targaryen.
Yeah, it's like you every time you revisit the show, like you get a new layer to this conversation. You know, the first time you're like, who the fuck are they talking about? The second time you're like, oh, I kind of know who the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah.
And then eventually you're like, oh, he's a Targaryen, I get that. And then it's like, oh, John's his fucking relative.
When we get to moments like this, obviously my wife doesn't know about John, but when we get to scenes like this where it's really heavy on names or locations, I'll hear her go, wait, and then I'll pause it, and then she'll start asking me stuff, and I'll fill her in.
And then you bring out the dry erase board where you have this like serial killer graph going.
I was going to say, all the yarn and push pins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. One of my favorite quotes from the episode I wrote down was an Aemon quote. We all do our duty when there's no cost to it.
Yes.
That's fantastic. This conversation, too, crosses over with... Benioff and Weiss are fucking brilliant at pinpointing when they want to have a running theme that perfectly lines up with every other little story bit, regardless of where they're at on the world. Like, the conversation, you know, like, between duty and family literally crosses over with the Khaleesi stuff, crosses over with the Ned stuff at the end, with Tyrion and Jaime. It's pretty fucking brilliant, the way that it crosses.
Yeah, what's funny is how good at that they get, because we praised them during season 6 for that pretty well. I didn't honestly remember them doing it as strong as they were in season 1, but they actually did that quite a bit throughout this season.
I think part of it, too, is because we talked earlier on about how Benioff and Weiss wrote 8 of the 10 episodes. So they were really able to set up exactly everything the way they wanted it to. Did you have any other quotes or anything with that scene?
No, just I was like you. I was looking forward to that scene, revisiting that scene, because I remembered them talking, and I remember that's when you discover who he is, but I didn't remember exactly what went down, and I was curious, you know, what experiencing that scene would be like, knowing what we know about John. So, and of course, it does not disappoint.
And the way he talks too about when they killed the kids.
Yes,
it's painful, man.
I forgot how much I missed that guy.
Yeah. All the assholes survived the Night's Watch. All the cool people fucking died.
It's just like real life.
Because of fucking Game of Thrones.
There we jump back to Khaleesi, right?
Let's see. I believe you're right.
Happens every once in a while.
So, it transitioned to the Drogo scene falling off the horse. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay.
All I literally have written down is Khaleesi. I guess I thought I would remember more at this moment than I do.
Pretty sure the first time you see them is Drogo has like the blanket over him, and he's leading the pack on his horse, and he falls off the horse, and that is like the ultimate no-no in their entire culture.
Yeah, a call that cannot ride is no call.
And it starts setting up Khaleesi, you know, she's standing her ground against these badass, you know, warriors and shit, but there's only so much she can do, you know. She's got Jorah with her, but as soon as Drogo is dead, she has no power. Yeah,
and is it Koto or something like that?
I think so.
Yeah, he points that out several times. That once he's dead, that she's nothing.
Man, she's freaking feisty in this episode. The way she's...
Yeah.
She gives no fucks yelling at all of them.
Yeah, she's pretty feisty in this. Wait till the next episode, dude. I don't know how much you remember. But
I actually don't remember very much of the... You know what was ironic? When I was actually originally watching the show for the very first time, I didn't know about the penultimate episodes being like the biggie.
Uh-huh.
So I watched this one, and I was like, oh shit, if that was the second to last episode, I wonder what crazy batshit stuff's gonna happen in the last episode. I remember actually being like, honest to God, disappointed.
Oh yeah.
I always thought, you know, like you think of it, oh, the finale is gonna be like the game changer type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I honestly don't remember very much about the next episode, so it's gonna be pretty fresh for me.
I think it may be season 2 when that happened to me. But yeah, season 1 still ends pretty strong though.
I do remember the very end. It says what everything leading up to it.
Yeah. I just remember it being a very long wait to the next April.
Absolutely. Where do they go from there?
We go to Kevin, Tywin, and Tyrion.
Oh yeah, the kind of brunch thing they're having.
Yes.
Dude, Kevin's in it a lot more than I thought he was.
I know.
He has entire conversations with Tyrion and Tywin, and I had no idea who the hell Kevin was.
No, I totally do not remember him. I swear to God, I think we see him again starting season 5, maybe. And I was just like, who the fuck are you? And why are you wearing the Hand of the King badge?
Kevin, who let you back in the kingdom?
Yeah, seriously.
That's a pretty fantastic scene. Dude, you want to talk about not having to talk? Charles Dance, I think, has the scariest eyes in the entire acting industry.
I was going to say, like, in Childhood's End, he can be just so compassionate is not the word for that, considering what he's trying to do, but like his eyes can convey so much compassion and everything. Or in Game of Thrones, he's the scariest goddamn motherfucker to ever walk Westeros.
Just him looking at you turns your fucking blood cold, dude.
It really does.
It is crazy.
I cannot believe he has not been in the MCU yet, or the DC Extended Universe or something.
Oh man, you get his voice for Dormammu.
Oh man,
that'd be pretty wicked.
That would be pretty badass.
I need to get on that. Yeah, that scene. I believe this is the first time they talk about how Tyrion is going to be a part of, with the Stone Crows, part of the Vanguard, right?
Yes.
That's when this is because Tyrion gets pissed off and walks away because Tywin literally wants Tyrion to go out in a way where he can actually help the family name. Yes. And that is all he cares about.
Yes, and I think he actually says something like, "There's got to be easier ways to kill me" or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just calmly says, like, there'll be no more on the matter, and they just go right back to eating.
Yeah, like it was nothing. Everyone else in the room's looking at you like, the fuck?
Condemning his child to death.
And there'll be no more on the matter.
No emotion whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just a done fucking deal.
Yeah.
God, he's a great character. He's such a prick. He's such a great fucking character, though.
I know, you love to hate him.
Yeah, like, one of the best
you know what? And
I'm
actually, anytime I see him on screen, I'm actually kind of scared of him.
So good. So good.
Yeah. And then we go back to the tent, right? And Bronn and Shay are there.
First time you see Shay, which I completely forgotten this was when they introduced her.
I remembered it being season 1, but I thought it was earlier.
Did you?
Yeah, I thought it was early because I remembered her being in it pretty heavy, and she is in 9 and 10. But I guess because she's in it so much in 9 and 10, and she has such long scenes. Normally when they introduce a character, it's not that long of a scene for that person. I just remembered her kind of like how I remembered Bronn and Tyrion palling around together like all season long. It was like 5 minutes.
You're like #Westerbros. Yeah, you want to talk about scenes that are hard to watch? I find all the Shay stuff incredibly hard to watch now.
Yes. The next time we come back, there's a quote from her that gave me chills, and I almost texted you. But yeah, is this scene? This is not the scene that they're playing the drinking games. That's later, right?
I believe they introduce her in the tent with Bronn and Tyrion. Tyrion and her have a conversation.
This is when Bronn has that badass, or that not necessarily badass, but that hilarious line when he says we're going to be in the Vanguard. And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go get me one," and then he walks out of the tent.
Oh yeah, he's just like, "Oh, well," he's just like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
And I like the Dinklage delivery too, where he's telling her the 3 things that are going to happen.
Yeah,
and like the 3 gifts that I will give to you. And he's like, number 2, you get the pleasure of my company, which I hear is pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do they cut to before they go back?
They cut back to Khaleesi.
Okay.
And this is the scene, I believe, when the shenanigans begin.
I believe that this is the scene where she brings the witch back in. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the note that I have is Jorah badassery written down. Yeah, is this the scene where he actually has the fight?
That's later on.
That's later on.
That's later on. This is where he's just in the tent with her.
Yeah, and then, this is when she says, "I think you should wear your armor tonight, sir."
Yeah.
He says, "I think you're right."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I'm missing a note later because in my notes we don't go back.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I remember when they
That's why I was confused. I was like, I don't remember. I remember cutting back, but yeah.
It's just he goes in and he tells her he's gonna die because the wound is so infected.
Yeah.
And then she is like, it's pretty heartbreaking to see like the Drogo and Khaleesi relationship, because I bet it's probably more fleshed out in the book, but we really, unfortunately, just did not get very much Drogo.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
We did not. There's a lot going on in this show. There's a lot that they just do not have time for, unfortunately. But once again, that's how awesome Jason Momoa is, because that is how he's remembered, and he was barely in the show.
Yeah, we call him Khal Drogo.
Yes.
We do not call him Jason Momoa most of the time. We call him goddamn Drogo.
We do not call him Arthur Curry either. Although we might after his standalone movie, but no, everybody refers to him that has ever seen this show as Khal Drogo.
You want to get back to the Tyrion thing? I think that was all for that portion.
Yes, it goes back to Tyrion and Shay, and they're playing drinking games, and
with Bronn too.
Huh?
With Bronn too.
With Bronn, and they're. It's basically what was the game? He is guessing aspects about their life, and if he's right, they drink. If he's wrong, he drinks.
Yes.
Yeah. I like how he basically pegged Bronn perfectly, because Bronn's always just like, God damn it, and would take another drink.
The one time he kind of got it right, but he also kind of got it wrong when he was guessing Bronn's, because he says, "I bet you killed your first man before you were 12. And he's just like, it was a woman.
Yeah.
So he was right, but he got the gender wrong. That was the only thing he messed up with Bronn. But yeah, how brilliant is the foreshadowing? He couldn't peg a single thing about Shay.
What was it that Bronn said, though? Because he looked at Shay and said, like, she started it or something? Or
she came at me with an axe.
She came at me with an axe, something like that. Yeah, the way he so matter-of-factly says that, I just cracked up laughing. I'm like, well, she came at me with an axe.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like you said, he couldn't guess a goddamn thing about Shay.
And they tell you right then and there, Tyrion can't peg her, like he can't figure out anything about her. He can't tell when she's lying or not. He can't get, like, she's a complete wild card to him.
Yes. And then when the game turns on Tyrion and it goes to story time about what the joke that Jaime, I guess, played on him.
Did you remember the scene at all? I did not, and it kind of floored me.
I did remember it once it started. By the moment we cut back to the scene, I was just like, oh my God. Like, I didn't remember any exact quotes or anything, but I remembered the story that
I'd forgotten about the story, so I was kind of taken aback by how
twisted. So not only do we have the story about how he was tricked into falling in love with this girl that was paid to make a man out of him, I guess. The line when Shay says, "You should have known she was a whore," blew me the fuck away.
Again, they're just like telling you.
Yeah, they are blatantly telling you what is going to happen.
Man.
I almost immediately text you because that's the thing I didn't remember, but was Shay saying that, and I was just like, no, I'll let him watch it on his own. But yeah, the moment she says that, since Chris doesn't know, Jeff, I had to contain it. And I'm sitting there trying not to explode on my couch.
The twistedness of the ending of the story about how it ties back into Tywin, I totally forgot about this too. I was just like, Jesus Christ, that because like even we've seen now, what is it, 60 episodes of Game of Thrones?
Yep.
And this was still so dark, that it was pretty disturbing. Like, you know, he's just like when he says like she had so many silver coins they were slipping through her fingers. It's just like, God damn, guys, like.
And he had to watch.
Because like the thing with Jaime's part of it is fucked up, but the Tywin parts at the end, you're just like, you can't even speak. It's so disturbing.
Yes.
Like,
and let's talk about Dinklage for a minute, because we've talked about like Jonathan Pryce's delivery when he was telling that story and like the look on his face and stuff. Dinklage in that moment when he's telling that story, dude, I feel like that actually happened to him.
And it's a long story too. I don't know how much of it was one take, but yeah, it was fantastically done.
Yeah, his facial expressions, and not only that, not only is he telling it with such like heartbreak, he's also telling it in true Tyrion like style, because you can hear some of the like the tones of his voice where he's like appreciating some of the irony of the situation and stuff as he's telling the story, like, you know, Tyrion would, even though it's going to a dark place and he's delivering the lines so well, it's still quintessential Tyrion telling the story. Oh, it was so good.
It's one of those things. It's like Game of Thrones, the writing's so good that the conversations in Game of Thrones are more captivating than the action in most other television programs. Like,
yes, this is basically Dialogue the Show, I have said many times, and it's riveting every time.
It's Dialogue the Show until like season 4 when they start showing you shit every now and then it's Dialogue the Show with moments of like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Dinklage there's no words for how good he was. It's also interesting too. The story he's telling ties back into a dark thing that Tywin did. The whole thing with Shay was Tywin's fucking doing too.
And I could not help but watch Shay that much harder, because her facial expressions do change as he's telling this story. Like she knows where this is gonna go. You can see it in her face as he's telling the story.
And then she what's funny too is like the last line she says, "You are still young and stupid because you are falling for it again as we speak." It's so fucking good, dude. Like,
yeah,
I
was just again, Game of Thrones throwing the fucking pie in your face and you don't even see it coming.
Yep. Where do we go from there?
My notes go back to Rob and Jaime.
Okay, yeah. So this was actually we talked about in the previous episode the trickery or not.
Yes.
So it was true, and I had forgotten too. Like, Rob, how did they do the picking of who gets to be the 2000?
Right.
Did they like just draw like 2000 short straws, or
and
how does that work?
That's one thing that my wife brought up. But I was like, you know, back then, honor and oaths and vows, and if you're a bannerman, there's a good chance you might have volunteered for it.
I bet what they had to do was just straight up take volunteers, but after a point, like, how do you decide who lives and who dies? Like,
yeah,
because it's a thing. It was a real life thing, like you said. Like, that happened in real life. People were sacrificed like that in battle, and they knew what they were getting into.
They knew it would be for the cause, and if you felt like back then with how honor bound a lot of families were, and everybody seems to be super loyal to the Starks now at this moment, there's a good chance that you might have volunteered for the glory.
Yeah, if for anything else, like it bumps up your family name, and that was a big deal for everybody.
Yeah, that was all you had really back then.
Even if you weren't like a Stark or a Targaryen, like your family name was important to you.
Yeah. It didn't matter how rich you were. Like Tywin talked about, it doesn't matter how much money you have or anything. It's your legacy that counts. That's in your family name. So yeah.
Richard Madden, the Rob actor, was really, really great in this. When they're all kind of cheering like they've won, and he's just like, I just sent 2,000 guys to go fucking die.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of devastated about it. It was really, really well done by him.
Yeah, I liked that scene quite a lot. I also liked how Tywin. What did he say? Something like, "Oh, you're injured." And he's like, "Yes, how nice of you to notice," or something like that. And then, he said it almost proud that Tyrion got injured in battle. And then he's like, "The scouts are wrong. He didn't have 20,000. He only had 2,000." And he's like, "Well, where are the other 18? Marching the other way."
I'll tell you, Tywin's just like, he's just basically saying just like, "God damn it," without actually going out and saying it.
Yeah.
Also, the whole thing about Tyrion surviving because he got conked on the back of the head by the mace.
Yeah,
is like Tyrion's like whole life story in a nutshell, almost.
Basically. You were talking about Rob. I had so many flashbacks to Jon Snow talking to Ramsay when Jaime was like, "You and I can settle this."
I had the same thing. He does like the whole one-on-one type of thing.
Yeah, you and I can settle this right here, right now. It's like, if you do it, do we do it your way? Then I lose. And I was just, my brain immediately went to Ramsay and Jon.
I don't know. Because I almost wish we had done this sooner, so that when the Snow and Ramsay thing happened, we would have registered that as a callback. I think it would have made it even cooler watching it.
And if you think about it, also, like what side each character is on of the war. Like, not necessarily families necessarily, but like invading force versus non-invading force and everything. It was all pretty close to that same damn scene. It
was just true on the other foot with the sides. Such a cool callback.
I had no memory of that scene.
Do what?
I had no memory of that scene.
Me either. Full Gandalf. 3/4 this Westerospective has been fucking, I have no memory of this happening.
The other fourth of it is us getting everything wrong and then our fans correcting us.
Yeah. I don't know if you mentioned it, but the Bronn quote of like, "Did we win?" We would be having this conversation if we didn't.
Yeah. Everything that Bronn says is quotable.
Everything Bronn has ever or ever will say is quotable.
It could be a t-shirt.
Yeah, it really could. No, here's the thing too, like, they capture Jaime, and like we've talked numerous times in the new season and in the old one that we're doing now, the subverting of expectations is absolute genius, because this was their trump card to get Ned back.
Yes.
Is the capturing of Jaime. That gives them negotiating power. And then in 99 out of 100 TV shows, that's what's going to happen with it. It's going to come down to an intense negotiation of trading your prisoners. But not in this show.
No, this is Game of Thrones, motherfucker.
Do you want to go ahead and talk about the ending now?
Yes.
Let's get depressed. I was legitimately... I've seen this now, whether it be from watching the show or on clips, like probably 10 times, and I get fucking depressed every time this happens.
I know. I do too. Just wait till you see the beginning of 10.
Oh, I think I vaguely remember what they do. I'm not looking forward to that either. So, yeah. I mean, when you talk about, like, I want to start off too. Sean Bean, the look on his face when he sees throughout these scenes Sansa and Arya.
Yes.
It's like they are literally his kids. He's so good.
Yeah. What the fuck is the guy's name from The Wall, from the Night's Watch?
Oh, I just actually had it pulled up because I was curious about that earlier. Hold on, I think I have it in my search history. It was like the recruiter guy, right?
Yes, the guy that was traveling with Tyrion.
Yoren of the Night's Watch. Yeah,
I really like that character, and I like him even more than I remembered I should. Going back and rewatching it, but that moment when Ned just walks by him and yells Baelor, and he looks at the statue and sees Arya crouched down on top of the statue in the most obvious fucking spot, and she's like the most sought after person by the city guard, and no one sees her except those two characters.
Well, I actually had to fucking Google it because I was wondering like why he was specifically saying Baelor, but that's the statue to get him to know. Yeah. I didn't catch that the first time.
If you can only get your message across with one word as you're being shuffled by a person, that was the perfect thing to say, because he immediately looks up at the statue, and being from the north, you would know every member of the Stark family.
Yep.
So he immediately recognizes Arya. And he's got an awesome line to her in the next episode, too, by the way.
Man, you're talking about like characters that go out like a boss too. That guy,
yes.
I believe, I think it's season 2.
Yeah, it's season 2.
It's
spoilers,
badass and heartbreaking all over again. But,
yes.
I don't even know where to specifically begin with this scene, other than when Sean Bean is visually shaky when he's doing his confession. Like, every word feels painful. Like, you feel it as a viewer, just how hard it is for him to say these words. How the only reason he would ever do this are his daughters standing in front of him.
Yeah.
It's like, it's heartbreaking in every way. And what's kind of crazy, too, is like, it's sad and it's heartbreaking, but the death of that character... Like, we always talk about, like, a lot of people will complain when characters die, but I have no issue with the character dying as long as their death has meaning within the story. And I can't think of a more important death for the storyline it took place in than this character's death.
I agree.
The death of Ned is both the birth of Joffrey, it's the birth of the stakes of the show. It's like the genesis point for the entire phenomenon almost.
Yep.
Because
it's also the launching point of my fucking hatred for Joffrey.
Oh my god. And it's like...
He was already a prick, but then he just goes ahead and orders off with his head after everything, and after everything he just went through. Like, even knowing exactly, every time I've seen this episode, knowing exactly what's going to happen, I am physically, realistically, in real life, pissed off at Joffrey. And I know it's coming every time. Which, again, means the Joffrey actor is amazing. And the storytelling. But still. Jesus.
Oh, the music, too.
Yes.
And the sound editing, after Joffrey makes a call out for Ilyn Payne to execute him, that it is almost like slows down time.
Yep.
It's so well constructed because...
The sound effects, too.
The sound effects, the cinematography of how like they get really zoomed in on Ned,
and then the first person shots they have too.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm getting depressed just thinking about it. It's like just playing through my brain.
That moment when he looks up at the statue and sees Arya not there, and you hear that like sigh of relief or breath of relief right before the sword comes down. It's just like, And then the entire time he's shouting for Arya to look at him or to look away. I don't remember which one it is.
I think he says, "Don't look."
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's Macy Williams was like 10 at the time, and she's fantastic too in the scene.
Yeah.
I like too when she starts to figure out what's happening the whole time. She's grabbing at Needle.
Yes.
She wants to help. Like, it's such a cool character moment. Like, she badly wants to help him, and she would if she could, but she just can't.
Yeah.
It's like, can you, like...
I feel like someone in my family died.
Right? Like, it's so just iconic now, like, the whole thing. Did your wife know about it?
Yes.
Did she know this was when it was going to happen?
I'm pretty sure she knew the moment they were dragging him out.
It was going to be bad.
The reason that she knew is A, it's Sean Bean, and B, some of the stuff he says to John. Like, next time we see each other, we'll talk about your mother. And like the first thing she said after he said that to John in like the third episode or whatever, she was like, "Oh, he's definitely dying." Then,
you know what's funny too is like in retrospect, we know Sean Bean was going to die at this moment, but Game of Thrones is so good, it made a Sean Bean character death shocking and one of the most shocking moments in like television history. That's a fucking monumental task.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive thing for the guy that dies in every fucking thing.
Fucking, I don't think, other than goddamn Gollum, I don't think anyone dies in Lord of the Rings but Sean Bean.
And a whole lot of orcs.
Yeah. Sean Bean and all of the orcs. Yeah. It's just crazy. It's just really crazy. Do you think there's anything we miss in this show?
I'm sure.
We still need to start up that Patreon so we can afford the therapy sessions that revisiting this goddamn show is. Because, like, that's the thing. Talking about the other iconic moment, which is the Red Wedding. The Red Wedding is probably more viscerally shocking, but this is more heartbreaking.
This is more heartbreaking. How brutal the Red Wedding is what made it shocking.
Yeah. It's just as iconic, but as far as just hitting you square in the gut, it's this one. This is... one of the most difficult to watch scenes of any show I think I've ever seen. Yeah, I think we pretty much touched up. We got one more episode next week for the first season, and then we should be going right into 2, right? Are we going to go ahead and start up on 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably give people a heads up. Eventually, Ron and his wife are going to be having munchkins.
Yep.
So at some point, we are going to be having a channel delay for a little bit, but we'll eventually come back. Just give people a little bit of a heads up. Yeah, if you'd like to check us out more, please like and subscribe. That gets you all of our content. We not only do Game of Thrones stuff, we also do a weekly news podcast for movies, gaming, and TV shows. We also do our Let's Plays. We just recently finished recording our Dead Space sequential. Those eventually will go up online.
That's what killed us last night.
Yeah.
We did, what, 5 episodes?
Dead Space. We just cranked it out and finished it up. Fucking great time, though. Just paying for it today. Now I'm just thinking about... I just scroll through my notes. I just see Death of Ned. Now I'm just depressed for like the 5th time today. Yeah, I asked you to please like and subscribe. We also have social media links in the description below if you're curious about those. And most importantly, if you know anyone else who would also, enjoy our content, we would really, really appreciate you sharing us out. For this night and all the nights to come, I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron, and Ned's watch is over.